Today, we're going to be looking at the trends from week 4 for these wide receivers. So we're going to look at the next-gen stat charts. We're going to break down the routes ran, the volume. So this is going to help you with waivers on a couple players. On top of that, confirmation bias for your roster, prospecting out for trades, looking at some of the volume for some of these players and everything else. We do this every week because we're getting the data together, and this is easy data from Next Gen Stats to cover, showing you where the routes went, how deep they went, the volume of routes for these wide receivers. And we need to look at these because it's hot off the press and gives us an idea of what our players did as we start our week. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now because we're talking about these players every day. Tuesday's a hot waiver wire day. We talk about the wide receivers and running backs. Wednesday, we look at all the players together. And then we're looking at players in between with the You Need series doing deep dives. Every day, multiple players a day. As many videos as I can to get deep dives out on the trending players. We use these videos to help you set your lineups and everything else. Click that button. Stop missing out. But the first wide receiver we're looking at today, Diontae Johnson. And Diontae Johnson, the last 2 weeks, has been getting it done, and the targets ramped up. The accuracy of targets ramped up. 13 targets against the Bengals, 7 catches, 83 yards, and a score. And this is the life of Diontae Johnson going forward. He's going to get volume. He's going to get a top-tier target share. And this is what I imagined when we were drafting him in the middle rounds. I said he was one of the last wide receivers in the draft getting a good target share that you can bank on from week to week. And that's what I meant, a lot of volume in the passing game, letting the chips fall where they may week to week. And there's going to be some games where he doesn't hit. I don't expect him to score 20 fantasy points every week. I do expect him to push 8 to 10 targets almost every single week. There will be a low game here and there, but I expect him to get a lot of work every single week now. Going forward, he should be. He creates separation. He gets downfield. He's got a target in this offense. He looked good in training camp. We saw this in training camp. That's why we cover training camp clips in the off season. Another reason why you need to subscribe, because this is all year long. And looking at the training camp clips, you'll see little things from these players that could amount to something in season. Diontae Johnson getting good quarterback play or decent quarterback play right now is helping him a lot in fantasy football. Michael Pittman. Flacco's back. Anthony Richardson went down, and the offense got some life here. And Anthony Richardson was okay to start the game. He looked better than previous weeks. Michael Pittman, if the ball flows his way, the targets are looking good, he's a big-time producer, and we're back to that. And we want to stay this way. Even though prior we were getting targets, we were getting opportunity, but the targets weren't great. They just weren't accurate. You couldn't get anything done with them. We're 6 for 9, 113 yards. We're getting deep targets downfield. We're getting targeted all over the place. He's a good route runner. He's very dependable. He's still good at football. I think some people question that because not everybody can watch all the games. Not everybody watches red zone even. And you only get a little picture from the red zone anyways of what players are doing. And the thing is, Michael Pittman's still good. He still creates separation. Very nuanced, good hands, very technical. It's just the targets and volumes got to be right for wide receivers. And now with Flacco back there, it's right for him. He looks good. He's still good. 6 catches, 113 yards. You're going to feel uneasy starting him because of what he did the first 3 weeks of the season, and you should. You should, and it's going to be like that up and down with his quarterback play as long as Anthony Richardson's back there. But again, Michael Pittman's always going to be getting targets. George Pickens, and I'll say it every week. I think every week he's good for around 5 targets. He's going to get a couple deep shots, and it's whether or not you bring in those deep shots. And it's a gamble every week. He brought him in this week. 7 catches, 113 yards. Looking good. The volume was there. This was a weird matchup against the Colts. I told you this was probably going to be a weird one way or another, and it was. George Pickens, though, you can count on him getting some sort of volume. He got 4 targets in week 2. That's probably going to be his low point of the season. 7, 7, and 11 in the 3 other games. He's getting volume. He's getting deep balls. George Pickens is getting the work of an elite wide receiver. So, and you caught him at like round 4, round 5 price tag. So you could have went running back. Maybe George Pickens as your wide receiver 2. Or went wide receiver in the first round. Got you a Justin Jefferson. Running back. George Pickens or something like that. and you're probably feeling good. There's some ups and downs there probably throughout the season due to volatility. But again, the work rate's what you're chasing here. The work rate is looking solid. Courtland Sutton. If you were looking for a late round wide receiver in drafts and you wanted a good work rate, Courtland Sutton was the last guy. The absolute last guy. Now the targets going his way, not the best in the world. Not the best in the world. But with how many targets he's getting in game. Week 1, 12. Week 2, 4. Week 3, 11. Week 4, 9. And the air yards. Look at all these deep shots. Look at the drag routes, the posts. Look at him getting it downfield. And even though it's just 60 yards and a touchdown, the fact is these weird matchups. If you're out there running a ton of routes and you're the guy pushing a 30% target share, the odds are a little better that you bring something in. The odds are better for you during those bad matchups. Now, during those good matchups, the odds are better that you go ham. That's the thing with Courtland Sutton. I'm not saying he's an elite wide receiver or anything, but I can definitely tell you he's got elite work rate. Routes ran, target share, air yards, all things you want in your wide receivers. He's free. He's not as free anymore, but he was super free in drafts. And the targets downfield, the amount of them, him getting the opportunity to bring in some balls each week, it's looking good here for Courtland Sutton. Tutu Atwell might be the Rams wide receiver who's emerging. I think we're going to get a carousel effect with these Rams wide receivers. Jordan Whittington had 8 targets in this matchup. I think it's just going to be matchup dependent. I think DeMarcus Robinson's still got to look at. I think these wide receivers are going to take their turns. Tutu Atwell, though, had back-to-back good games now. Week 3 and Week 4 has been looking solid. 14 fantasy points in each. 28 fantasy points total in the last 2 weeks. Got to pay attention to. Got to look at off waivers, but I wouldn't go crazy about it because I think these Rams wide receivers are going to have the carousel effect when any wide receiver in this offense can get it, and it's just going to be random. I think Tyler Johnson's done. I think he's got too short of an average depth of target. I've been saying this all along. I think volume-wise, he can rack up some targets in certain matchups, but he's not getting it deep downfield, and he doesn't have the speed to really to post up a lot of yards after the catch. Maybe if something breaks downfield, busted coverage or something like that. But Tutu Atwell's got speed. He's got a little different dynamic compared to the other wide receivers. He's explosive. He's been in the offense for a bit. He's going to get targets while the veteran wide receivers are out. Chris Olave, a lot of people had questions about the hamstring, and I said if he was good to go, and they're saying he's good to go, I'm probably just going to rock with it. I'm not going to think twice about it, and I'm just going to let the chips fall where they may. And I'm not going to worry about the decoy thing. I'm not going to worry about him just busting up that hamstring in like the second quarter or some random time during the game. If it happens, it happens. The reason why is because usually if you're good to go, you're good to go. And if not, they're going to sit you and bring somebody else up or do something else. Chris Olave, though, got the work in this matchup. It was a tight matchup, high-scoring affair. High scoring for 2024, I'll definitely say that much. Balls pushed downfield. He looked good, and we're starting to ramp up here. Week 1 was rough. Week 2 was a little better. Week 3 was even better. Week 4 was good. Week 1 was weird due to that Carolina game. They're up easy on that. They're up easy. Remember that. Remember the game scripts in some of these matchups when you start getting worried about players. Look at the game scripts. Sometimes the players in those game scripts, just the ball goes weird ways due to how the game's flowing. It's more than just player good, player bad. Chris Olave's good. He's a good wide receiver. He can get the deep ball. He can get it downfield. He creates separation. Not worried about him at all. Mike Evans is back to being productive, and it's been since week 1. We're getting targets downfield. We're getting air yards, and this was a good matchup for him against the Eagles defense, and it got pushed downfield. The Bucs got up. He was able to get a touchdown too. 14 targets in this game, his most targeted game on the season so far. He got 2 Sixers in weeks 1 and 2, but look at the routes ran. We're all over the place. We're getting deep downfield. They're utilizing his deep threat abilities, his abilities to post up at the catch point. That is what we want from Mike Evans. This is vintage Mike Evans. This is what we want. If you got him in your fantasy lineup, you're loving it. Jauan Jennings is a player that you're probably going to want to roster, but he's going to break your heart sometimes, but he's also going to make you feel good sometimes. He's got you feeling a little bit good right now. 11 fantasy points, about wide receiver 3 production. Good enough to get you by, not good enough to win your league, not good enough to lose your week either, but he's getting targets deep downfield. He's getting some volume here, and I think the Niners are going to be able to spread it around a little bit more with these wide receivers. I think these wide receivers are going to be a little bit more of a headache. I think that's the thing that's going to happen here, and Jennings is going to make that headache happen. And he's going to have some weeks where he does well now with Debo back, and he's going to have some weeks where he's a headache. And that's what Jennings is going to be, because Debo's going to Debo. It's not going to change. If he's healthy on the field, and he was getting opportunities to hit over 20 miles per hour on a carry or a run. He did that on the field. He's back. He's back. If you're wondering about that, Jauan Jennings is going to be doing something on the field. He's going to be getting opportunities. It might be more off and on. You may not know what to do. You'd love it for DFS in the right matchups, but that's what you're going to get for the rest of the season. Jakobi Meyers is the guy to pick off waivers if you haven't already. 10 targets in this matchup. Trey Tucker, 10 targets in this matchup as well. With Davante Adams is out, you want both wide receivers rostered. Trey Tucker got the touchdown on a carry, but the thing about this, they are both getting a lot of work in the passing game, and if they got to throw the ball a lot, both these wide receivers are going to get to work. They've proven that, and Jakobi Meyers have proven over time last year that he can handle a lot of workload and get a lot of targets in this offense. Trey Tucker is ramping up. You may want to be looking at both wide receivers. I want Jakobi Meyers more for the long term if Davante Adams comes back. However, both these wide receivers, if Davante Adams is out, you want them both. And Trey Tucker's a pick 'em if Davante Adams is back as well, especially for DFS as a cheap play. But I'm looking at these wide receivers. I'm looking at them both. I'm not saying they're must starts, but they're guys that are going to get targets. Khalil Shakir is a guy that needs rostered in every league. And I'm saying that because I know most people who watch this channel, he's rostered in your leagues because you probably picked him up and drafted him. However, random work leagues, those people probably have him on the waivers. He might be sitting there. And if he is, pick him up because he is the reliable wide receiver for the Bills. He's getting targeted every single game. He's getting volume. It may lead to fantasy points, it may not. But he's the guy to pick up. He's getting that deep shot. I know most of the people who watch my channel religiously has Khalil Shakir rostered, but I also get a lot of people to come to my channel that's new who are looking to learn about these players. Shakir is the trusted wide receiver in this offense. There's going to be games where he gets volume. There's going to be games where he gets those deep shots downfield. We bring in 1 or 2 of those in a game. It's going to be a splash one. He got a 10 PPR fantasy points last night. Not great. Ain't going to win your week. Ain't going to really lose it. But it's okay. The week prior, 19. The week prior to that, 10. And we're hitting double digits every week in fantasy production. That being said, Shakir is a wide receiver you need to pay attention to. He's a wide receiver that's going to be a start-sit dilemma every single week. I'm going to like him most weeks. Because I feel safe that it'll get you double digits. I feel safe that he's not going to score you 5. There will be a game or 2 where he will, because that's how numbers work. But I feel safe with him every week. If you got a start-sit dilemma and you don't know what to do, just throw him in because he is a safe play, a safe bet most weeks. And I'm game with it. Those are the trends from week 4 for these wide receivers. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. Thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.